298 days. That's how long Caitlin Clark waited to play a real WNBA game again. Not a preseason exhibition, not a FIBA qualifier in Puerto Rico where she walked away MVP, but an actual regular season game in front of the Indiana Fever faithful who packed that arena to welcome her home. And the night she finally came back against Paige Bueckers and the Dallas Wings, something happened that nobody in WNBA history had ever seen before. 8 WNBA records fell in a single game. And while the Fever narrowly lost, Caitlin Clark just announced to the whole league that she's back. Let's give Caitlin a warm welcome back by commenting, "Welcome back, CC Record Breaker."
For Caitlin Clark, starts off the third quarter with the three, then comes down again off the offensive rebound. Deep three involved her teammates with pretty dimes once she got inside the paint, and then in transition showed a little of her magic as well. Just felt so different here in the third quarter. The energy in the building sparked by Caitlin Clark.
Clark told reporters before the game that she was excited, way more excited than nervous, and she meant it. But people who watched her pre-game shoot-around noticed her hands weren't totally steady. And that gap between what she said and what her body was doing tells you everything about what this night actually cost her to get to.
Hey, Caitlin, your fans obviously are waiting for this moment as much as you have been. What do you think this means to them, and how important is it for you to be back, for them, and they've been waiting since July 15th as well? Thanks.
I mean, as excited as they are, I'm probably way more excited. That's how much I love this game, how much I missed it, and obviously I've played in the USA basketball stuff and I've played in the preseason games, but it's a little different when you get to do it for real. And just really thankful more than anything.
The 2025 WNBA season took a lot from her. The groin injury that kept her sidelined wasn't just a few missed weeks, it was the whole season. Watching Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell and the rest of the Fever play game after game without her, being the biggest fan in the building when she wanted more than anything to be on the floor. She sat through all of it. Then in March of 2026, she finally got back to live basketball, playing for Team USA in the FIBA qualifying tournament in Puerto Rico, and she was dominant enough to walk away with tournament MVP honors. So by the time opening night arrived, she'd already proven she could still play at a high level.
Obviously last year was a mental grind more than anything. It was, it's hard when you put in so much time in the off season and it doesn't really go how you want it to. And that's basketball, that's life. And you got to find a way to respond. And I feel like I've tried to approach every part of adversity in the best way that I can, but it makes me a little emotional that I get to put on my jersey tonight and I get to go play. So more than anything, my goal is just to have fun, enjoy the crowd, enjoy the excitement around this moment, and remind myself I'm prepared as well.
But Clark was very clear that Puerto Rico and Indianapolis aren't the same thing. She actually said it directly. Playing for the Fever in front of the home crowd gives you a different juice inside your body compared to other competitions. And she went further than that, telling reporters, "I was excited for my teammates last year, 100% I was their biggest fan, but it's not the same, it just isn't." That's not her being dramatic. That's her being honest about the fact that a real WNBA game in her building, with a fan base that spent 298 days watching injury updates and hoping, carries a weight that no exhibition or qualifier can replicate. She admitted to butterflies and nerves she hadn't felt in a while, and she welcomed them. "I missed having the butterflies in my stomach before a game," she told reporters. "Like, I love that, and that means you're ready." When someone who's hit game winners and played in front of 20,000 people tells you she's nervous, you don't dismiss it, you pay attention. Gainbridge Fieldhouse was already electric before she even touched the ball, and the loudest roar of the pregame was saved for her introduction, because 298 days of waiting from a fan base turns a season opener into something else entirely.
There's just like a different juice inside of your body when you're putting on your uniform and you're mentally locked in to go and play a basketball game. Obviously, I was excited for my teammates last year 100%, and I was their biggest fan, but it's not the same. It just isn't, and I think it's more mentally, you're mentally preparing, you're mentally locked in, and I missed having the butterflies in my stomach before a game. I love that, and that means you're ready.
The first half didn't go the way anyone scripted it, though. Clark was feeling out the speed again. The rhythm wasn't clicking, turnovers piled up, and for stretches the rust was real, and the Wings' defense made her work for every inch. Then the third quarter arrived, and she caught the ball near the elbow, did a spin move that froze her defender, and fired a behind-the-back pass to Myisha Hines-Allen without even looking, hitting her in stride. The crowd didn't just cheer, they erupted. Because that pass doesn't come from practice reps or game planning, it comes from pure feel, and it proved her vision never left during those 298 days away. Midway through the game, she made 2 trips to the tunnel, and fans online immediately started worrying that something had gone wrong with her groin again, which is completely understandable given everything they watched her go through in 2025. Stephanie White cleared it up post-game. The tunnel trips were routine back adjustments, part of managing her body through the physical demands of playing at this speed again. Clark herself said she felt great.
Caitlin, to your point on feeling good, you made a couple of quick trips to the locker room. Was there a reason for that?
Sorry, who's talking? Oh, my bad. Just getting my back adjusted. It gets out of line pretty quickly. So just getting my back put back in place a little bit. But other than that, feel great.
She finished with 20 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds alongside 5 turnovers. And that box score is exactly what a real comeback looks like. Not perfect, but still dominant. While Clark was grinding through her first half rust, Kelsey Mitchell had already decided this game wasn't going to be a quiet one. Mitchell dropped 30 points in the season opener, and that number by itself sounds like a big night until you find out it broke the Fever franchise record for most points scored in a season opener. That record had been sitting there for years, and Mitchell knocked it down like it was nothing.
Right away, you see Dallas in man-to-man. Paige Bueckers on Caitlin Clark. Keep an eye on that one.
Here's Kelsey Mitchell. Jittering, taking a long 2 and burying it. Mitchell, 3rd in the league in scoring a season ago.
What made Mitchell's night so important wasn't just the volume, it was how she got there. Efficient, relentless, attacking the defense in waves, and doing it from the jump when Indiana needed someone to carry the load while Clark was still finding her footing. On a night where your star player is shaking off 298 days of absence, you need someone to hold the rope early, and Mitchell did exactly that. She didn't wait for Clark to warm up before she started putting points on the board.
7-point lead for Dallas. Mitchell, she got it. Huge 3 for Kelsey Mitchell.
Aaliyah Boston was doing something different entirely. She only played 26 minutes, and in that time she put up 23 points and 4 rebounds, moving through transitions and creating mismatches that the Wings simply couldn't contain. Analysts were already putting her name in all WNBA conversations before the season was even a week old. And after watching what she did in 26 minutes against Dallas, it's not hard to see why. 23 points in 26 minutes while also creating problems in transition is the kind of stat line that makes opposing coaches re-watch film the next morning. So you've got Clark at 20, Mitchell at 30, Boston at 23, and that combination put them in genuinely rare territory. Those 3 scoring 20 or more points in the same game made them only the 3rd trio in WNBA history to all crack 20 in a season opener. Only the 3rd time in the entire history of this league and the 1st for the Indiana Fever franchise, another record. That's not something that happens just because 3 good players show up. It requires all 3 to be locked in on the same night, and that's exactly what Indiana got.
Boston the steal. Here comes Boston. Mitchell the shovel. Timpson, it's tied.
Off the bench, sophomore Michaela Timpson went 5 for 6 from the field for 11 points in 19 minutes. And that might be the quietest important performance of the whole night. Monique Billings was out, so the Fever needed someone from that second unit to step up and not let the depth problem become a scoreboard problem. Timpson answered that, going 5 for 6 as a sophomore in your season opener, off the bench, with a packed house and all the noise that came with Clark's return. That's a steady performance from a young player who didn't blink. Lexi Hull came back from hamstring tightness with limited minutes. and even just having her available matters for Indiana's rotation going forward. When Hull's healthy and locked in, she gives the Fever a layer of defensive versatility that takes real pressure off the big three, so her return was worth paying attention to even if the stat line was modest. All of it together pushed Indiana to the highest scoring season opener in Fever franchise history, which is worth sitting with for a second, given that they spent the first half still getting their legs under them as a unit. And both teams scoring over 100 points made this the first season opener in WNBA history where both sides cracked triple digits. That's never happened before on opening night in this league.
Caitlin Clark heating up after hitting the first three of the second half, and then here stepping in. There's the fist bump you were talking about.
The Wings shot 59% from the field and 52% from three. That's the number that explains the final score of 107-104, not Indiana's offense, which clearly wasn't the problem, but the defense that kept letting Dallas find clean looks all night long. By the time the final buzzer sounded, the stat crew was still counting. When the full picture came together, 8 separate WNBA records had fallen in a single game, and you almost don't believe it until you actually see the list laid out in front of you. Start with the 1,000-point milestone, because 2 records fell on that number alone. Clark became the fastest point guard in WNBA history to reach 1,000 career points, doing it in 54 games, and she's also the 6th fastest player overall in league history to get there regardless of position. So she's not just rewriting the point guard record book, she's sitting near the top of the all-time list across every position this league has ever seen, which puts her in a very short group of players at this stage of a career.
Here comes Clark. Just ended an 8-0 Dallas run. Boston, the deep seal, and the finish.
Those first 2 records are impressive on their own, but the third one is where you really start to understand what Clark's career arc looks like right now. Reaching 1,000 points is one thing. Reaching 1,000 points while also piling up 250 rebounds and 250 assists is a completely different level of completeness, because that combination requires you to score, rebound, and distribute at a rate that most guards in this league simply don't. Clark did all 3 in 54 games, and in doing so, she broke a record that Diana Taurasi held. Taurasi needed 62 games to reach that same threshold. 8 fewer games against a player who's widely considered one of the best to ever play this sport. The 4th record is about consistency rather than a single milestone, and it might be the one that ages the best. Clark now has the most 20-point, 5-rebound, 5-assist games in the entire WNBA, and she's done it in fewer games than anyone else in league history. That's not hitting those numbers once or twice and writing the story. That's doing it at a rate nobody in this league has ever matched, and every game she plays adds to a gap that's already hard to close.
Clark the rebound, pushing pace for Indiana. Clark trying to go all the way in, reverses it home.
Records 5 through 8 all belong to the team. Mitchell's 30 points broke the Fever's season opener scoring record. Clark, Mitchell, and Boston becoming only the 3rd trio in WNBA history to all score 20-plus in an opener and a record for the first in the Indiana Fever franchise. The team setting the franchise high for points in a season opener. And then both teams together becoming the first opening night matchup in WNBA history where both sides cracked 100, finishing at 107-104. Clark actually described the pace of that game by saying, "No one could breathe." And when you watch the film, that's not an exaggeration at all.
I mean, I think early in the first quarter and second quarter, no one could breathe, so no one could talk with the pace we were playing at. And also, like, just the nerves and the excitement of the game. I'm not going to speak for Kels, but it was for them too. Jose was yelling at them to keep running. I'm like, Jose, I don't know if either of us can keep running, but... I was like, but, no, I mean, that's the pace you want to play with.
That last record is worth a closer look, because Dallas wasn't just a backdrop for Indiana's historic night. The Wings came in with a revamped roster under coach Jose Fernandez, running a system built on spacing, ball movement, and multi-positional reads. And they executed it cleanly enough to win while also producing one half of a league-first offensive showcase. 4 of the 8 records are individual Clark milestones that speak to how fast she accumulates production. 3 are fever team records that show how the offensive ceiling of this roster has risen. 1 is a league-wide first that neither team could have produced alone. After the game, Clark put it plainly, "Our offense is obviously not the issue. We're perfectly fine on offense." And she's right. The offense isn't where Indiana's problems live right now, which means the records are real, the talent is real, and the Wings still walked out of Gainbridge Fieldhouse with the win.
Caitlin, your first game back, how do you feel physically and how would you evaluate this first day?
Yeah, I feel good. Started off a little slow, I think, just the anxiety of the first game, trying to work through that. But overall, I felt good, felt fast out there. Felt like I was literally a couple buckets away from putting together a really, really good game and helping us win. But our offense is obviously not the issue. We're perfectly fine on offense, and there's still so many things we can do better on that end of the floor. But, you got to give Dallas credit. They're really good.
The Fever lost, and it's worth being straight about that rather than letting the 8 records soften what actually happened on the court. Because the reasons Indiana lost this game are the same reasons they'll lose again if nothing changes. Dallas shot 59% from the field and 52% from 3, and those numbers don't show up by accident. The Wings ran their spacing and ball movement system cleanly all night, exploited transition opportunities every time Indiana's defense was slow to rotate, and made the Fever pay for those late rotations over and over again. 12 three-pointers on 23 attempts. That's not a team getting hot. That's a team finding clean looks, because the defense kept giving them the same openings.
Today, preseason was a big talk from your coach in the preseason. What happened on that end of the floor to give up such a high number tonight?
I think it comes down a little bit of personnel, knowing who you guard and knowing how you got to guard them. I think that's one issue of which we have to get better at. But I think collectively, just a little bit more pride. And taking it serious. Not that we weren't. It's just, when we play that good defense down the stretch of possessions, get the rebound. Don't give them another chance to really get it back. And I think that shot us in the foot a little bit. And then when you let certain players get going, it's hard to stop them. And so I think our personnel defense could be a little bit better.
Stephanie White acknowledged post-game that Indiana can't expect to win by trying to outscore opponents, and that the Fever need more defensive discipline and cohesion as a unit. That's honest. Having Clark, Boston, and Mitchell on the same floor gives Indiana one of the highest offensive ceilings in the league, but it doesn't automatically fix what happens on the other end. Clark, Boston, and Mitchell combined for 73 points and Indiana still lost. So that tells you something real about what the rest of this roster needs to provide. When the bench isn't producing and the defense keeps surrendering easy looks, 3 stars all scoring 20+ isn't always enough, especially against a team that's executing at a high level. Clark herself finished 7 of 18 from the field and 2 of 9 from 3, and 5 of her turnovers came as offensive fouls. So 3 of those were live ball mistakes that turned directly into easy Dallas buckets on the other end. She admitted afterwards she felt she was literally a couple buckets away from putting together a really, really good game and helping us win. And that's probably accurate, but the offensive fouls are a correctable problem that can't keep happening.
Really, the only quarter we put together was the third. I guess in the fourth we were fouling, so. But, figured it out a little bit there in the third. We just got to be able to do that a little more consistently, but it was a great test. It was a great game. Our locker room was positive afterwards, so we're not going to hang our heads. We're going to move forward. A lot to be proud of and a lot to learn from, too. So it was only 1 of 44. We got a long ways to go.
Monique Billings missing the game got felt on both ends of the floor, and that goes beyond just one player being absent for one night. When Billings isn't in the lineup, Indiana loses the defensive rebounding and physical presence she provides, and the margin for error in the rotation gets thin fast. The Wings knew that. Odyssey Sims, Jessica Shepard, and Alana Smith all contributed passes and spacing that stopped Indiana's defense from loading up on 1 or 2 people, so Dallas kept finding the open man, kept moving the ball, and kept Indiana's defense guessing the whole game, especially alongside an efficient scorer like Paige Bueckers. The player-led nature of this Fever roster also means Clark, Boston, and Mitchell are going to need real time together to grow on the defensive end. Finding each other in pick and roll and transition is one thing, and they've already shown they can do that at a high level. But talking through rotations, switching assignments, communicating when a cutter is slipping through, that stuff takes repetitions that you can only get by actually playing games together. The opener was always going to have rough edges because of that, and it did.
But I'm excited about where our group is going. Like I told CC and AB, I'm gonna rock and roll with them for as long as we're gonna do this. I'm rocking and rolling, and I think we're gonna keep getting better. I think the chemistry is there. I think the atmosphere and the fans. I don't know how much they realize. Yeah, they really. Yeah, they keep us in the game, especially when it's bad. Yeah. When it's bad, especially, and so we piggyback off our fans in a lot of situations. Our environment is what makes me want to play hard. It makes her want to play hard, and so we got a lot of good things going. When you lose, you take it on the chin and you respect your opponent, but you come back more powerful.
None of that erases the records or the offensive production, but it does frame the real question for the 2026 season. White has to build a defensive identity around 3 elite offensive players, and she has to build it fast enough to matter when the playoffs arrive. Clark put it plainly after the game. Our offense is obviously not the issue. We're perfectly fine on offense. And she's right. The offense isn't where Indiana's problems live. But the Wings walked out of Gainbridge Fieldhouse with the win, and a team that gives up 107 points in Game 1 has work to do before it can call itself a championship contender. Clark is 54 games into her WNBA career, and she's already passed Diana Taurasi's record for reaching 1,000 points, 250 rebounds, and 250 assists. So the question for 2026 isn't whether she belongs in the all-time conversation, it's how many more records fall before the season ends. The defense is the thing to watch, not the points or the records or the behind-the-back passes, because that's where the gap between a good regular season and a deep playoff run actually lives. 8 records, a loss, and a roster still figuring itself out. Dallas walked out with the win, and Indiana's got work to do. Let's give Caitlin a warm welcome back by commenting, "Welcome back, CC Record Breaker." Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.